Hello there, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide, the channel where we explore the topics of men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today, well, it's winter grooming tips for chaps I'd like to share with you. Because right now, here in the United Kingdom, we're in the middle of the winter. And I guess this is only going to be relevant for you guys who are currently in the winter time. Appreciate in the southern hemisphere, it's the exact opposite, and you're probably enjoying time on the beach. But right now we're in midwinter here in the UK, and there are many obstacles for chaps who want to look their very best at this time of year. When you take into account, the biting winds, the cutting cold weather, and all of the other things which we face when we keep trying to keep ourselves looking good, particularly as the advancing years catch up with us. So today I'm going to share with you some of my top grooming tips for chaps in the winter time. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the old face, the visage, because that is the one part of your body which is constantly exposed to the elements at this time of year. The rest of your body, your hands, you wear gloves, everything else is covered up, but your old face, it's out there in the wind, in the temperatures, day in and day out. So it's important to look after it. Now, good skin health, and remember, the skin is the largest organ in the body. It takes a lot of looking after. But good skin health should start with hydration. Make sure you're drinking as much fluids as you can. Sometimes you don't feel like you want to do it in the winter time because it's cold. It's not like the summer where you need the extra hydration. But you do. And, get a couple of extra glasses of water down your neck, and it's going to do wonders for your skin health. The other thing which is good for skin health is moisturize. Now, I moisturise without fail, twice a day. Once in the morning after I've had a shave, and in the evening after I've had my evening shower before I sit down to relax with the family, watch the TV, do whatever you're going to do. And that way I know I've got 2 good doses of hydrating, conditioning cream generally, which I apply twice a day, which does wonders for the skin. Now, the type of cream that you use is entirely a matter for you and your own skin chemistry, because everybody's going to be slightly different in the way that they react to certain things. I keep things really simple. I use an inexpensive L'Oreal Man Expert moisturiser, which I've been using for a few years now. It's not expensive, it does a wonderful job on my skin, and it keeps me feeling well hydrated and the skin at its best possible health. The second thing I'd like to share with you in my winter grooming tips for chaps is the sun, that great big yellow fiery ball in the sky, because it can be just as damaging in the winter time as at any point in the summertime, yet we kind of neglect our sun protection in the winter months. Now, here in the UK, last night it was -4 degrees. It was really quite cold for this climate, but the sun is beating down today, and those ultraviolet rays emanating from the sun, as well as warming me up, are also causing damage to the skin, right? They dry the skin out and they speed up the effects of aging on the skin. So one thing which is really important to do when you know the weather's going to be like this is to apply an additional sunscreen. Now, I know a lot of moisturizers will say that they have a sunscreen included. Me, I would personally always apply an additional one. I apply my moisturizer and then I apply an additional sunscreen to give me that extra protection. Now, the one that you use is entirely a matter for you. I particularly like Kiehl's Ultralight Daily Defense Sunscreen. It's got an SPF of 50, which is quite high because I'm fair-skinned and I know the sun will do me damage if I wallow in it for any amount of time. But a minimum of 15 SPF would be what I would be looking for to apply in addition to your daily moisturizer. Now, whilst all of these things sound as if you're going to be spending half the day preening yourself, applying moisturizer and applying SPF, the SPF sunscreen is going to be the thing which could save your life. Nobody wants skin cancer. Nobody wants to look old prematurely. And although the sun is great, it's also your biggest enemy. So take care and apply an additional sunscreen to look your very best in the winter or any time of the year. Now, staying with skin as the topic for our third tip for men's grooming in the winter, let's talk about the way we look after our skin on a daily basis. Now, many people will just use a bar of ordinary soap to clean their face. That's fine, it's really cost effective, and it is hygienically clean. Yes, that's true. But is it doing the best that it can for your skin? You know, the thing is, most bars of soap will contribute to dryness of the skin over prolonged use for time, particularly on the sensitive skin on the face. It's not like your hands that get a lot of hard wear. Soap is fine for use on those, but the face is a different matter altogether. And I like to use a specialized facial cleanser on a daily basis because I know that works best for my skin. Now, I have slightly oily skin, so I use Kiehl's Oil Eliminator daily cleansing and exfoliating wash because I know that works really well for me. For you, well, I can't advise you because I don't know what your skin chemistry is like. So anybody who suggests to you that one facial cleanser will work for you, well, they don't know your skin. Trial and error is the way forward. I tried a few before I hit upon one which I know worked for me, so why not try a few and see what works the best. That way you won't be having dry skin and your skin will feel protected, exfoliated and ready to take on the elements in conjunction with some of the other products that we've talked about. Staying with that topic of facial skin health, all of this exposure to these elements will cause dryness of the skin. It's what we're trying to avoid by applying the moisturizer and looking after our skin, but it still happens because, you know, it's a brutal time of year when sub-zero temperatures and biting winds get to your face. And that can display, dryness of the skin can display as, you know, flakes of skin, dry skin cells, you know, around, you know, the corners of your face, wherever it may be, around the edge of your nose, things like that. And for me, the way I look after that is by using a facial scrub. Now, I use this all of the year round, but it really comes into its own in the winter time to exfoliate those layers of dead skin, removes the dryness and keeps the skin looking clean and fresh all the time. Now, again, you know, everybody can find their own products that they prefer to use. I like this St. Ives Blemish Control Apricot Scrub because it's really inexpensive. I've talked about this in other videos that I've done over the last year or so in my skin health regime, and this is so inexpensive but so good at its price point. It's worth mentioning again because I hate to think some of you guys may be forking out large sums of money for expensive, you know, prestige brands which don't perform as well as something which is inexpensive and really effective. So look it up. I'll put a link below to the Amazon link which I personally use to buy these. I think it costs something like £8 for 3 of these at the moment from Amazon. And that's probably about 3 months worth of daily facial washing. Really good performance, keeps the face looking good, clean and fresh, and doesn't cost a fortune. Quid's in. Now, one feature of the face which tends to bear the brunt of the elements in the winter time is the lips. They are probably the most sensitive skin on the face and more vulnerable to the effects of ultraviolet, to wind, to extreme temperature change. And for me, I tend to get cracked lips, dry lips, and I'm always trying to, you know, keep them in best condition. Now, one way I do that is by carrying a small pot of lip balm with me pretty much all the time. I tend to use a Vaseline-based one, petroleum jelly, and, you know, it's the simplest thing in the world. Just every so often to rub a little bit on your lips to know that they're protected. And, you know, if you buy one with a UV protection in it, it's also going to be protecting your lips from those dreadful sun rays which will do so much to harm us. So look after the lips. It's probably the least expensive thing that you can pay for. And think about it, you know, when you go, I don't know, if you do outdoor sports in the wintertime, skiing or whatever, you wouldn't dream of not going on the slopes wearing some form of lip balm. But treat your daily life as pretty much the same thing because you're being exposed to the same elements which conspire to damage your lips. So a little bit of lip balm doesn't cost hardly anything. And, you know, one pot lasts a year, 2 years. So it's a very inexpensive way of protecting the old chops. Now, the next tip I want to share with you is one which I am not an expert in. And you might rightly say, what right has this fellow got to talk about hair health? Because I actually don't have much in the way of it anymore. But your hair also is in the front line when it comes to the elements in the wintertime, because the changes of temperature can make your hair brittle, and, you know, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to have split ends, those things which I've never had. But, you know, you can look after your hair better in the wintertime by doing one simple thing, and that's by shampooing your hair intermittently. So instead of shampooing your hair every day, which of course removes the oils from your hair, and the oil is something which the hair uses to look after itself, to protect itself from the elemental changes which it's being exposed to. If you shower every day, of course, but you only shampoo your hair every other day, it'll give your hair a chance to look after itself and to protect itself from those temperatures. So this is one which doesn't cost you anything at all, but can have great impact when it comes to looking after the hair on your head. Oh, I wish I had that problem. Now again, my next tip is one which I am technically not an expert in, because I've been clean shaven all my adult life. I like to have the old clean jawline. But if you have a beard, which is of course incredibly more common today with gentlemen sporting whiskers for fashion and trendy purposes, you need to think about the hair on your chin as well as the hair on your head. And very much in the same way, you know, it's going to dry out, it's going to become brittle, and it's not going to have the greatest of health if it's being exposed to these extremes of temperature. So my recommendation is, well, wash your hair regularly using a beard wash, which will prevent you washing away those oils which help to keep your beard hair well and healthy. And also a little spot of beard oil as well will also make it smell fragrant and look its very best, nice and shiny, just like the hair on my cat. So look after your beard and apply the things which you know are going to protect it. Now, another part of your body which is often exposed to the temperatures at this time of year is the old hands, because they're often in and out of houses, in and out of, you know, hot and cold environments. And even though we wear gloves, I tend to wear gloves quite a lot in the winter time to protect my hands, but you know, you also can look after them by making sure that they are moisturized quite regularly, at least twice a day at the same time as you're doing it to your face. And perhaps if you get your hands dirty as part of your job, you know, when you wash your hands, try and apply a moisturizer after you've washed your hands, because again, you're going to be washing away those oils which protect your hands naturally. So apply a moisturizer where possible, and you won't suffer with dry and chapped hands in the winter, which can actually be a really unattractive feature if you if you work with your hands, particularly where they've got to be exposed to the elements. Look after them, apply the moisturizer, and they look great throughout these winter months. Now, my final tip for you in this winter grooming tips is going to be a winter fragrance. I had to have a fragrance in there because you know I'm a big fan of men's fragrances. And it's true, winter fragrances are different to summer fragrances. Not all fragrances work well throughout the year. Some do, but in my experience, in the winter time, we tend to prefer more musky, more oppressive, stronger fragrances, because at this time of year we need that extra punch, because we tend to be, you know, having more layers of clothing, we're spending more time indoors, and then when we're in the outdoors, the environment that we're in is much more cold, oppressive, dank and dark and wet. So a stronger fragrance is necessary to punch through those elemental issues which suppress those lighter, more zesty, often citrus-based fragrances. So for me, I prefer stronger fragrances. And do you know what? Today I'm wearing Aramis, a real classic, strong, powerful man's fragrance, even though it's only an eau de toilette, which is towards, you know, the weaker end of potency when it comes to fragrance. But this is a real beast when it comes to pushing out its sillage, its projection. When you walk into a room, you know, you can pretty much quickly identify a man who's wearing Aramis or one of its derivative fragrances. And I really like it. I mean, even though it's been around for what, 60, 70 years, it's inexpensive and it works exceptionally well in the winter time. So think about, if you're wearing one fragrance throughout the year, think about, is it really working well in the winter time? If it's a light, zesty fragrance that works great in the summer, it's probably not working that well in the winter. So have a look around, see what other fragrances are out there and experiment. Pick something which you'd like to try, which has got a bit more power to it, a powerhouse fragrance for these cooler winter months. Well, there we go, chaps. I hope you enjoyed my winter grooming tips. I hope they'll help you on your journey to looking the very best that you can at the colder, darker and damper parts of the month. For you, those of you in the southern hemisphere, well, you're lucky, but winter will creep up on you as well. Might not be as bad, but it is on its way. So bear in mind the tips that I've shared with you today. I hope the winter goes well for you, and I hope I'll see you again very soon back here at the Chap's Guide. Until then, take care of yourself, give us a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.